Fleet Commander Drav'kor stood before the massive viewport, mandibles clicking with barely contained excitement as the blue-green orb of the human colony world filled his vision. His four eyes narrowed, the outer pair scanning tactical displays, while the inner set remained fixed on the planet below. New Montana, the humans called it. Soon they would call it nothing at all. Magnificent, isn't it? Drav'kor said to no one in particular, his voice carrying the distinctive rasp that marked high-ranking Zenthari officers. Another prize for the Dominion. Another species about to learn their place in the galaxy. Behind him, the command deck hummed with activity as his crew prepared for what would surely be another glorious victory for the Zenthari war record. 17 species had fallen before them in the last solar cycle alone. Humans would make 18. War beast transports report ready for deployment, Commander, announced Sub-Lieutenant Cree from her station. All 12 carriers are positioned in optimal dispersion pattern. Drav'kor's exoskeleton shimmered with pleasure. Excellent. These humans think themselves apex predators. How quaint. They've never faced anything like our Razorclaws. The view screen shifted to display the massive transport vessels, each one an orbital fortress housing 500 of the Dominion's finest bioengineered killing machines. The Razorclaws were the pride of Zenthari military science, each one standing taller than two humans, with reinforced chitin plating and toxin-secreting claws that could shred battle armor like paper. Their neural implants allowed for basic pack coordination, making them unstoppable against primitive defenses. The usual strategy, then? Asked Strategic Officer Venz, approaching with a data tablet. Release the war beasts, wait 48 hours for maximum civilian casualties, then send in ground forces to mop up survivors. Why tamper with perfection? Drav'kor laughed, a sound like granite being crushed. Our efficiency rating is unmatched across the 7 spiral arms. The High Command specifically requested we maintain consistency for the statistical models. He gestured with a clawed appendage toward the tactical display showing population centers across the colony. Nearly 6 million humans, spread across 3 major settlements and dozens of smaller outposts. By tomorrow, half would be dead. By the following cycle, the planet would be secured for Zenthari resource extraction. Commander, there is a matter I feel compelled to raise. Drav'kor turned, irritation radiating from his pheromone glands as Science Officer Mila approached. Unlike most of the battle-hardened crew, Mila's exoskeleton was still soft and pale, marking her as new to frontline service. What is it, Science Officer? We're about to commence the operation. Mila's antennae twitched nervously. I've been studying human historical data, sir. Their adaptation capabilities are unusual. They have a remarkable history of coexisting with predatory species that. Spare me your xenozoology lecture, Drav'kor interrupted with a dismissive wave. I've heard the same cautious drivel before every campaign. Unique biology, unexpected resilience, cultural factors to consider. He leaned forward, looming over the smaller officer. None of it matters once the Razorclaws touch down. Nature has its hierarchies, Science Officer, and our war beasts sit firmly at the top. Mila lowered her gaze submissively, but persisted. I understand, Commander. I merely suggest we increase surveillance during the initial attack phase, for data collection purposes. Fine. Approved. Now return to your station. Drav'kor turned back to the viewport and raised his voice. All units, commence Operation Harvest Fall. Release the war beasts. As Mila retreated, Drav'kor permitted himself a moment of satisfaction. Another world, another victory, another commendation. The humans wouldn't know what hit them. How utterly wrong he was. Deploy deployment pods, standard dispersal pattern, Drav'kor ordered, watching as the massive carrier ships positioned themselves in the lower atmosphere. Target the agricultural sectors first. Their food production must be eliminated. The command deck view screen displayed real-time footage as hundreds of teardrop-shaped pods punched through the wispy clouds of New Montana. Each one contained a single Razorclaw, sedated for transport but programmed to awaken upon impact. The pods streaked toward the vast golden fields of the colony's main farming region like metallic raindrops. Impact in 3-2-1, announced Tactical Officer Braz. Across the landscape, pods slammed into fertile soil, creating small craters throughout the human farmland. The hulls split open with hydraulic hisses, revealing the Dominion's perfect predators. Sub-Lieutenant Kree enhanced the visual feed, allowing the command crew to witness the war beasts in action. The Razorclaws were truly magnificent specimens. Standing nearly 3 meters tall on 4 backward-jointed legs, their bodies combined the most effective killing attributes from a dozen conquered worlds. Segmented exoskeletons provided protection while maintaining speed and agility. Multiple rows of sensory organs detected heat, motion, and even fear pheromones. But their most impressive features were the namesake claws serrated, extendable weapons coated with a neurotoxin that paralyzed prey while keeping the nervous system active. The victims would feel everything until death finally claimed them. "Look at them go," exclaimed Ven's mandibles spread wide in appreciation as the first Razorclaw located a human habitation. Such efficiency. The war beast moved with terrifying speed, covering ground in long, loping strides. A primitive alarm began to sound in the human settlement, but it was already too late. The perimeter fence, pathetically inadequate against Zenthari bioengineering, was breached with a single slash of toxin-coated claws. Screams echoed through the audio feed as the first humans encountered their executioners. Perimeter defenses at major population center have been breached, reported Braz. Human response time is suboptimal. As expected, Drav'kor said, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Their colony defense protocols are inadequate. Razorclaws are performing at 97% combat efficiency, casualties mounting quickly. On screen, more pods descended, targeting the secondary settlement areas. Reports flooded in from automated tracking systems. Human defenders were mobilizing, but their weapons seemed ineffective against the war beast's armored hides. Projectile weapons merely ricocheted off the reinforced exoskeletons. Energy weapons caused minor damage but required sustained fire time the humans didn't have as claws ripped through their defensive positions. "Begin preparation for ground invasion," Drav'kor instructed. "I want troop transports ready to deploy in 46 hours. Resource assessment teams should prepare for immediate deployment once the population centers are secure." The command deck erupted in celebratory clicks and hisses, the Zenthari equivalent of applause. Several officers approached Drav'kor with congratulatory gestures, touching antennae in respect for another smoothly executed operation. To the Dominion, called out Strategic Officer Venz, raising a limb in salute. "Due to conquest," responded the crew in unison. Only Science Officer Mila remained at her station, antennae twitching nervously as she monitored incoming data. Her concern went unnoticed amid the celebration. "Commander," she finally called out, her voice cutting through the festivities. "We have an anomaly." Drav'kor turned, irritation evident in his posture. "What now, Science Officer?" "We've lost communication with surveillance drones in sectors 7 through 13. And several Razorclaw tracking implants have gone offline." "Equipment malfunction," Drav'kor dismissed with a wave. "Run diagnostics." "Sir, with respect, the pattern is unusual. The signals aren't degrading, they're being terminated abruptly." Mila's voice grew firmer. "And we've lost all communication with our forward observation team." Before Drav'kor could respond, Tactical Officer Braz interrupted. "Commander, we're experiencing a complete communications blackout from the surface. All signals from deployed units have ceased." A heavy silence fell over the command deck as the celebration died instantly. "But what do you mean, ceased?" Drav'kor demanded, stalking toward the tactical station. "Explain." "Unknown, sir. One moment we had full tactical data from all units, and the next nothing. It's as if something is hunting them, Mila finished quietly. Restore communications immediately. Drav'kor roared, slamming a clawed appendage onto the tactical console. Launch additional surveillance drones. I want eyes on our Razorclaws now. The command deck buzzed with frantic activity as technicians attempted to re-establish contact with their surface forces. Minutes stretched into an hour, with tension building like a pressure cooker ready to explode. High-altitude surveillance drone deployed, sir, reported Sub-Lieutenant Cree. Visual feed coming online now. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a bird's-eye view of the agricultural settlement. Smoke rose from several structures, evidence of the Razorclaws' initial assault. Bodies of humans lay scattered across the fields, confirmation that the first phase had indeed been successful. There, Tactical Officer Braz pointed to movement along the settlement's edge. Razorclaw Unit 37, moving along the western perimeter. Drav'kor leaned forward, his four eyes narrowing as he studied the war beast. Something was off. The creature was moving erratically, not with its usual predatory grace, but with the desperate scramble of prey. Enhance and track, he ordered. The image zoomed in, revealing the terrible truth. The Razorclaw, their perfect killing machine, was fleeing. Its armored hide bore deep gouges, and one of its lethal claws hung useless, nearly severed from the limb. What could do that to a Razorclaw? Whispered Venz, mandibles clicking nervously. The drone camera panned, following the war beast's desperate retreat, then jerked suddenly as something new entered the frame, a pack of smaller creatures, moving with coordinated precision through the tall grass. What are those? Drav'kor demanded. A junior analyst who had been working feverishly at a data terminal stepped forward hesitantly. Commander, if I may, I've been analyzing the visual data against known Earth species. Speak, analyst. Junior analyst Pex, sir. Those are they appear to be canines. Dogs. Domesticated Earth predators kept as companions and work animals. Pex's voice carried the unmistakable tone of someone who couldn't believe their own findings. And those larger quadrupeds pursuing the Razorclaws in Sector 9 are equines, horses, herbivorous transportation animals. That's absurd. Drav'kor snarled. No mere pets could challenge our war beasts. The Razorclaws were engineered to be apex predators. Sir, with respect, the visual evidence is quite clear, Pex continued, gaining confidence. The dogs are hunting in coordinated packs, displaying tactical behaviors beyond natural instinct. And the horses, they're not fleeing as herbivores should. They're charging, attacking. The view screen shifted to another area where a Razorclaw lay motionless, surrounded by several large canines. As they watched, one of the dogs looked directly up at the drone, its eyes reflecting an unnatural blue glow. Those aren't normal animals, Science Officer Mila said, stepping closer to the screen. Look at their physiology: enhanced musculature, reinforced skeletal structures, and some kind of technological integration near the cranial region. Are you suggesting the humans have modified their companion animals? Drav'kor asked, incredulity dripping from every word. The evidence suggests exactly that, Commander, Mila replied. These aren't mere pets. They're counters to our war beasts, specifically designed to combat them. The command deck fell silent as another surveillance feed showed something even more disturbing. A horse its size far exceeding typical Earth specimens rearing up and bringing hooves reinforced with some kind of metal alloy crashing down on a Razorclaw's head, crushing its armored skull like an egg. Impossible, someone whispered. Junior analyst Pex cleared his throat nervously. Sir, historical data indicates humans have been selectively breeding these animals for thousands of years. They've shared their habitats, food sources, and even dwellings with these creatures. The relationship goes beyond master and beast. It's a partnership. A partnership with animals? Drav'kor's laugh was harsh and dismissive. Next you'll tell me they've taught them to speak and use weapons." As if in answer, the view screen showed a dog with what appeared to be a mechanical harness strapped to its back, from which protruded small, targeted explosive devices. The canine systematically placed these devices near a trapped Razorclaw, retreated to a safe distance, and then barked, triggering the detonation. Drav'kor's mandibles clicked shut with an audible snap. "This changes nothing," he finally declared, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "We have thousands more war beasts. These pets are merely an unexpected first-line defense. Deploy the second wave, concentrated deployment. Double the number of Razorclaws and target their command centers directly." "Sir," Mila began, "perhaps we should reconsider." "That was not a suggestion, Science Officer," Drav'kor cut her off. "It was an order. Deploy. Second wave. Deploy enhanced Razorclaw units to the urban settlement designated New Seattle," Commander Drav'kor ordered, his voice steady despite the tension vibrating through his exoskeleton. "These are our elite specimens, with reinforced neural implants and adaptive toxin delivery systems. No Earth creature, modified or not, will stand against them." The command deck had lost its earlier festive atmosphere. Officers worked in tense silence, avoiding eye contact with their increasingly irritable commander. The stunning reversal in the first deployment zone had shaken their confidence, though none dared voice such thoughts. "Ground Commander Lark will personally lead a reconnaissance team," Drav'kor continued. "I want direct intelligence, not just drone footage. We need to understand what we're facing." Ground Commander Lark stepped forward, a battle-scarred veteran whose left mandibles had been replaced with cybernetic prosthetics after a campaign against the Vorlax horde. His carapace was decorated with kill markings from a dozen worlds. "I will not fail you, Fleet Commander," Lark said, voice raspy through his cybernetic speech enhancer. "My team will identify the weaknesses in these Earth beasts." He managed to make the term sound like an insult. "And I'll bring you the head of whatever human is coordinating them." "See that you do," Drav'kor replied coldly. "A departure in 20 minutes. The second wave drops immediately after your insertion." Lark's insertion pod streaked through New Montana's atmosphere, bypassing the farm settlements where the first wave had failed, heading straight for the larger urban center. New Seattle huddled between mountains and sea, its structures denser and more sophisticated than the agricultural zones. The perfect place to locate their enemy's command facilities. "Final approach," announced the pilot. "Stealth systems engaged. No signs of detection." Lark checked his weapons one final time. "Remember, priority 1 is intelligence gathering. Observe the enemy's tactics before engaging. I want to know how they're controlling these animals." The pod touched down silently in a wooded area 3 kilometers from the settlement's edge. Lark and his 5-member team deployed quickly, their exoskeletons shifting to a mottled gray-green to blend with the Earth vegetation. They moved swiftly through the forest, sensors alert for any sign of the modified Earth creatures. What they found instead stopped them in their tracks. "Commander, you need to see this," whispered Scout Tiv, gesturing toward a clearing ahead. Lark approached cautiously, then froze at the sight before him. A massive complex spread across the clearing, a facility unlike anything their intelligence had indicated existed in this colony. Training grounds, obstacle courses, medical facilities, and what appeared to be cybernetic enhancement labs stretched before them. And everywhere, humans worked alongside their animals, dogs, horses, and other species Lark couldn't immediately identify. "They've built an entire military installation dedicated to these creatures," Lark sub-vocalized into his comm unit. "This isn't some desperate last-minute defense. This is systematic, organized." "Base to ground team," came Drav'kor's voice through the comm. "Second wave deployment has commenced. Enhanced Razorclaws dropping into New Seattle Central District now." Before Lark could respond, a sharp whistle cut through the air. Well, what do we have here? Visitors?" The voice, human, female, came from directly behind them. Lark whirled, weapon raised, to find himself face to face with a human female. She wore a reinforced combat suit with numerous technical attachments and stood with the confidence of a seasoned warrior. Most alarming, however, was the massive creature at her side, canine in basic structure, but like no dog Lark had ever seen in their intelligence briefings. Standing nearly as tall as the human at the shoulder, its eyes glowed with artificial enhancement, and portions of its skull had been replaced with metallic plating. "I'm Jasmine Martinez, head trainer of the Colonial Defense K9 program," she said with a smile that showed too many teeth. "And this is Rex. He's been very eager to meet you." The creature Rex made no sound, but its focus on Lark was absolute, predatory, and chillingly intelligent. "Your invasion's timing is actually pretty convenient," Martinez continued conversationally, as if discussing weather patterns. "We were scheduled for field testing next month, but nothing beats a real-world scenario, right?" Lark raised his weapon, but faster than he could track, the enhanced canine lunged. The last thing he saw was gleaming metal teeth. Back on the command ship, Drav'kor watched in mounting horror as feed after feed from the enhanced Razorclaws went dark. The few visual transmissions they did receive showed scenes more suited to nightmare than battlefield. Packs of enhanced dogs working in perfect coordination to separate and bring down Razorclaws. Horses with armored plating and reinforced limbs trampling war beasts. And most disturbingly, smaller animals, cats. According to junior analyst Pex, with stealth enhancements that somehow allowed them to approach undetected before striking with surgical precision at the neural control implants. Ground Commander Lark, report. Drav'kor barked into the communications array. Static answered him. "Sir," Science Officer Mila approached, datapad in hand. Before communications failed, we received partial data from Commander Lark's team. They discovered training facilities for these animals. The humans haven't just been modifying them recently, they've been selectively breeding and enhancing them for generations. "That's impossible," Drav'kor hissed. "Our intelligence indicated this colony is barely 60 years old. The modifications began on Earth, sir, centuries ago. What we're seeing is the culmination of a long-term program." Mila's antennae drooped. "The neural bonding techniques alone are decades beyond what we thought humans capable of. They don't control these animals, they communicate with them, partner with them." A tactical officer interrupted with news that sealed their fate, sir. "Colonial defense forces are converging on our Razorclaws from all directions. They're using the modified animals as frontline units, with human soldiers providing tactical support. We're losing ground everywhere." Drav'kor stared at the tactical display, watching as centuries of Zenthari military supremacy crumbled before animals that humans kept as pets. "This emergency council is now in session," Fleet Commander Drav'kor announced, his voice echoing through the command ship's war chamber. The Zenthari high officers sat in a tense semicircle, mandibles clicking nervously as tactical displays showed the unfolding disaster on the planet below. "2 waves of war beasts defeated," Strategic Officer Venz stated flatly. 73% of our Razorclaws confirmed destroyed. Ground Commander Lark and his entire reconnaissance team missing, presumed dead. "This is unprecedented." Sub-Lieutenant Kree's antennae flattened against her head in a gesture of extreme distress. "The Dominion has conquered 18 species in the last cycle alone. How can simple colony humans with domesticated animals cause such humiliation?" offered Tactical Officer Braz, earning a withering glare from Drav'kor. "Science Officer Mila," Drav'kor said, struggling to keep his voice level. "You claim to have insights into this situation. The Council will hear them now." Mila stepped forward, activating a holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images of Earth animals, dogs, horses, cats, and others floated before them, alongside historical human artwork showing these same creatures working alongside humans throughout their history. "Honored officers of the Dominion, what we're witnessing isn't some recent defensive adaptation," Mila began. It's the culmination of a relationship spanning over 15,000 years of human evolution. She manipulated the display to show primitive humans hunting alongside wolves. While most species evolved to compete with predators, humans took a different approach. They formed alliances with them. Alliances? With beasts? Someone scoffed. Precisely, Mila continued undeterred. What began as mutual benefit shared hunting, protection evolved into something deeper. Humans didn't just tame these creatures, they integrated them into their societies, their families, their emotional structures. The display shifted to show brain scans of humans interacting with these animals, highlighting neural activity in both species. Most remarkable is this. Mila pointed to the highlighted regions. When humans bond with these companions, both species experience neurochemical changes. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, the same chemicals humans produce when bonding with their own offspring. Stunned silence filled the chamber. They love them, Mila said simply. And through thousands of years of selective breeding, genetic modification, and now cybernetic enhancement, they've created defensive partners perfectly attuned to human needs. These aren't weapons to the humans, they're family members who will fight to the death to protect their human companions. Family? With different species? Drav'kor spat the words as if they tasted foul. Disgusting sentimentality. This changes nothing. The Dominion does not retreat. The Dominion does not fail. He rose to his full height, looming over the assembled officers. Prepare the Void Stalkers for immediate deployment. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Commander Venz protested. The Void Stalkers are untested in actual combat conditions. They're still considered experimental. They were engineered specifically to be unstoppable. Drav'kor cut him off. 3 meters tall, virtually impervious to conventional weapons, capable of adaptive learning, with toxins that can kill on contact. They're the pinnacle of our biological warfare program. But sir, Mila interjected, if we deploy them and they fail, the humans will have access to our most advanced bioengineering. The risk. The risk. Drav'kor snarled, is mine to take. The only alternative is retreat. And that I will not do. Deploy all remaining Razorclaws as a diversion. Then release the Void Stalkers directly on their command center. Target this training facility. Target their Jasmine Martinez. Let's see how their precious pets fare against our ultimate predators. He turned to the viewport, watching as the final transport ships moved into position. This ends today, he promised, one way or another. Void Stalkers deployed. Impact in 30 seconds, announced Tactical Officer Braz, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. The command deck watched in tense silence as the specialized pods streaked toward the human command center. Unlike the Razorclaw deployments, these containers were larger, reinforced, and far fewer in number. Each housed a single Void Stalker, the crowning achievement of Zenthari bioengineering. Atmospheric entry stable. Targeting systems locked on training facility coordinates, Sub-Lieutenant Kree reported. No sign of interception attempts. Drav'kor's mandibles clicked in grim satisfaction. They've exhausted their defenses against our earlier waves. Now they'll face something beyond their comprehension. The pods impacted with precision, drilling deep into the earth before explosive bolts blew their casings open. The creatures that emerged moved like living shadow, their carapaces absorbing light rather than reflecting it. 8 limbs unfurled, each tipped with toxin injectors capable of paralyzing creatures 10 times their mass. Neural processors more advanced than anything in the Dominion standard arsenal allowed them to analyze and adapt to enemy tactics in real time. First visual confirmation, Braz called out. Void Stalker 01 is operational and engaging. The view screen displayed the nightmarish creature as it tore through the outer perimeter of the training facility. Human defenders fired weapons that would have shredded Razorclaws, but the projectiles merely glanced off the Void Stalker's specialized armor. Its counterattack was swift and merciless, adaptive limbs reconfiguring into blade-like appendages that sliced through defensive barriers. "It's working," exclaimed Strategic Officer Venz. "The humans have nothing that can wait." "What's that?" The tactical display registered massive energy signatures in the colony's upper atmosphere. "Unknown vessels entering orbit," reported Cree, confusion evident in her voice. They're not colonial ships. Configuration unknown." The view screen shifted to show enormous transport vessels descending through New Montana's clouds, each one easily triple the size of the Zenthari carriers. "Where did those come from?" Drav'kor demanded. "Scan for weapons systems." "No conventional weapons detected, Commander," Mila replied, studying her console. "But they're giving off biological signatures. Thousands of them. And they're... Oh!" The transport's massive bay doors swung open, and what emerged froze the blood of every Zenthari on the command deck. Wolves the size of small shuttles, their bodies enhanced with both biological and mechanical augmentations. Bears with reinforced skeletal structures and integrated weapon systems along their spines. Big cats, lions, and tigers whose natural camouflage had been enhanced with adaptive pigmentation technology. Each creature wore neural interface gear that pulsed with energy as they coordinated their movements with precision no natural animal could achieve. "Those aren't colonial defense animals," Mila whispered. "Those are Earth's apex predators. The colonists were just using their work animals, but these are their war beasts. The Void Stalkers, programmed to adapt to any threat, reconfigured to meet this new challenge. But for every adaptation they made, the Earth predators responded with coordinated counter-tactics that seemed impossible for mere animals." Drav'kor watched in stunned silence as a pack of enhanced wolves systematically dismantled a Void Stalker, each attack targeting a specific weakness with surgical precision. Nearby, an augmented grizzly bear grappled with another, its enhanced strength sufficient to tear the Zenthari creation limb from limb. "This isn't possible," Drav'kor finally managed. "The level of coordination, the tactical awareness, they're fighting like they understand battlefield strategy." "Because they do," Mila said quietly. "Look at the neural interfaces. The humans aren't controlling these animals, they're communicating with them, sharing information, making joint decisions." As if to punctuate her point, the view screen showed a human commander, not Jasmine Martinez, but another standing alongside a massive Black Panther. Both wore matching neural interface devices, and as they surveyed the battlefield, their movements mirrored each other in perfect synchronicity. They didn't just domesticate predators, Drav'kor realized, his voice hollow with the weight of comprehension. They became their partners, their equals. "All vessels retreat. I repeat, all vessels withdraw immediately," Drav'kor ordered, his once proud voice now heavy with defeat. "I cover whatever war beasts can be extracted. Abandon the rest." As the Zenthari fleet broke orbit, Drav'kor stood alone at the viewport, watching New Montana shrink into the distance. Their perfect record of conquests, shattered by creatures humans kept as companions. "We didn't just underestimate their technology," he murmured to himself. "We failed to understand their fundamental nature. They don't conquer other species, they form families with them." He turned to his console and began composing his report to the Dominion High Command. The first line was clear. "Recommend permanent quarantine of all human-occupied space." They didn't domesticate predators. They became them. 3 months after the Zenthari retreat, Jasmine Martinez stood at the edge of the New Seattle training grounds, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Beside her, Titan, her enhanced wolf-dog hybrid, sat alert, his cybernetic eye implants scanning the perimeter out of habit. "We did good, didn't we, boy?" she said, scratching behind his ears where flesh met metallic enhancement. Titan huffed in agreement, leaning his massive frame against her leg. The neural link they shared pulsed warmly, transmitting his contentment directly to her mind. Not words exactly, but emotions, intentions, and the deep bond that transcended species. Commander Martinez called a voice from behind. Jasmine turned to see Ambassador Krill Axe approaching, the Ardelian's six-limbed gait still awkward on human-designed pathways. The reptilian diplomat was accompanied by two juvenile members of his species, and most interestingly, a pair of modified Earth Monitor lizards that walked obediently at their sides. The neural interface training is progressing remarkably well, the ambassador said, mandibles clicking in what Jasmine had learned was their expression of excitement. Our younglings and your Earth reptiles share surprising neurological compatibility. The bond forms much faster than our scientists predicted. Jasmine smiled. That's excellent news, Ambassador. The diplomatic corps will be pleased. Since the Zenthari attack, 17 species from the Galactic Concord had approached Earth with partnership requests. The interspecies companion program was barely getting started, but already showing tremendous promise. Species that had once viewed Earth as a minor player in galactic politics now sought human expertise in what was quickly becoming their most valuable export: the art of forming bonds across species lines. The Zenthari have been unusually quiet since their defeat here, Krill Axe observed. Our intelligence suggests they are reconsidering their expansion policies. They should, Jasmine replied, watching as Titan playfully sniffed at the monitor lizards, who flicked their tongues in response. The next time they encounter humans, we won't be alone. Her comm unit chimed with an incoming transmission. The holographic display showed a mining colony on Proxima Centauri, i.e. another human settlement, where engineers were fitting neural interfaces to a group of Vexillian hound analogs, while their insectoid masters watched with what passed for enthusiasm among their kind. Across human space and beyond, new partnerships were forming. New bonds were being created. And should the Zenthari ever return with their war beasts, they would face not just humanity and their companion animals, but a galaxy that had learned to follow their example. Titan looked up at Jasmine, his enhanced eyes reflecting the stars just beginning to appear overhead. Through their neural link, she felt his simple yet profound thought not in words, but in feeling. Family grows stronger. Yes, Jasmine agreed, resting her hand on his massive head. It certainly does.